Iestyn a Rhobert, cydlynydd a thiwtor Cymraeg i oedolion gyda cwmni ACEN. The work we do ranges quite a bit from providing S4C with subtitling in Welsh on 889. We also supply S4C with material for learners on the S4C website for learners. So that's one aspect of our company. Another thing we do as well is we teach Welsh in the workplace. Our current list of clients include the Welsh Assembly Government, the National Assembly for Wales, DVLA and several other public bodies. So that's the second aspect of our company. And another aspect as well is we publish books and materials for Welsh learners. This company's been established since the early 90s, and it's pioneered the way for Welsh to be learnt by adults. We also produced a successful TV program as well, which is still in use. We also produce a bi-monthly magazine for Welsh learners. We do road shows as well for learners across Wales, so we publicise our services and what's available for learners via S4C, broadcasted stuff, and the internet site as well. We also provide every year at the Eisteddfod, you have a group of about 30 people who are there to help. They provide maps and guidance then for learners and for fluent Welsh speakers. Tell them just to direct them around the field, so we provide that service as well. Well, we know statistically that that the number of Welsh learners has increased, especially in places like Gwent. Most of their learning is done through the Welsh for Adult centres. So they're administered then through the local education establishment. So in Cardiff and Villa Glamorgan is run by Cardiff University. In Gwent it's Coleg Gwent. So they're divided equally amongst the universities and colleges around Wales.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that in Gwent that demand is outstripping supply. There aren't enough tutors for the number of learners, so that's really, really encouraging, but it also shows that we need more tutors, we need more people to actually kind of take on the work. As regarding what ACEN specialises in, which is Welsh in the workplace, we've seen a big increase as well in uptake for Welsh in the workplace, all across Wales as well, because after devolution, the Welsh Assembly Government, for example, have offices in Merthyr, Aberystwyth, Llandudno and Cardiff. They have smaller satellite offices as well, and there's been a big uptick in Welsh language learning in the workplace because of this. Also the Job Centre, that's another public body that we hold classes at. They're spread all across Wales as well, so it's great. So there's an increase in the number of people uptaking in Welsh in the workplace, and the number of people doing it outside of work as a hobby, or if they just the amount of learners has increased, which is really encouraging. We show that the effort and the hard effort put in through years of campaigning is now bearing fruit. So that means that the services for learners has to increase hand in hand with it, to make sure that they have the opportunities then to actually use their Welsh, whether through local language enterprises, which there are several, and centres, Welsh language centres as well. I know, for example, there's a very successful one in Merthyr. So yeah, just to find that opportunity, because they learn Welsh, or they learn the language techniques in class, but they need to practice it in the community. So So both have to be, well, both aspects of learning, both the formal aspect and the informal aspect has to go hand in hand. So the opportunity is there for learners to actually learn and practice afterwards. S4C as a broadcaster is unique. It's the only Welsh broadcasting channel. It's independent, which means it has control over its programming. So it's not like state television as the BBC. So it's, although it is financed, of course, by the Department of Sport and Culture in London, the opportunity to listen to Welsh and to view Welsh being spoken on S4C is extremely valuable. If that service was lost, then we would lose a resource then for Welsh learners. Of course, equally, fluent Welsh speakers would miss out as well. So whatever happens in the next few years, we have to ensure that Welsh language broadcasting stays on the same level as it is now and improves. So there's an opportunity to improve the service. But S4C over the years has ensured that it does look after all of its viewers, whether fluent Welsh speakers or learners. I use my Welsh wherever I can. I always greet people in Welsh and I always thank people in Welsh. I remember when I first came to Cardiff in the late 90s, it was at the beginning of an influx of a lot of people from North and West Wales. So when you do walk around Cardiff, you hear a lot of Welsh being spoken. So, and in some areas more than others, but you always hear Welsh every day around you. You know, people commenting, a group of ladies shopping. You always hear it. You hear it at sports matches. So that's quite encouraging. But that's a lot of influx. That's a lot of people from West Wales and North Wales coming to Cardiff. So yeah, you do hear a lot of Welsh, way more than I'd imagine that you'd hear Irish in Dublin, for example. As regarding West Wales, well, we know that the number of Welsh speakers is declining there through lack of transmission from parents to children. And we have to also be very careful about figures. For example, there's going to be a census this year, and it's probably going to reveal that the number of Welsh speakers is probably more or less the same as in 2001. But depending on how people view themselves and their Welsh language skills, how accurate is that? Will the census ensure that they ask the correct questions in order for us to find out exactly the number of Welsh speakers, and more importantly, who uses Welsh from day to day? So yeah, it's difficult. For example, if someone can speak Welsh fluently but doesn't have the confidence to speak it, maybe they would not register themselves as a Welsh speaker in the census. Then on the other hand, you might have someone who's not as fluent, maybe someone who's been learning for a few years, but who is confident with their Welsh language skills and who is confident enough to talk and use Welsh. So they might then register themselves as a fluent Welsh speaker or as a Welsh speaker. So yeah, you can't rely too heavily on figures, and the amount of work in front of us as Welsh language tutors, as companies who provide the service through the Welsh language to help learners, you know, this will be an ongoing crusade or work, whatever you might deem it or see it, because it's taken a fair few centuries for the language to decline, especially so in the 20th century more than any other, and it's going to take us some time to actually get ourselves back to becoming a proper bilingual country again. And the government, the One Wales government agreement has shown that, you know, there is goodwill behind it. But I think and this is just my personal view, I think you will need stronger legislation in order to encourage companies, big private companies, to actually provide a decent quality of Welsh language service, and not just lip service or tokenistic use of Welsh. You know, everybody has to be on board and really push this forward. because that's what we want. We want a bilingual Welsh country, a Welsh nation, where you can use English or Welsh on equal basis. It's about the federalisation of Welsh universities to provide a full education in Welsh in as many subjects as possible. Because when you think about it, people start their Welsh language education, whether they're from a household with both parents speak Welsh, or whether they're from a household maybe in the south where nobody speaks Welsh. Education starts quite young in ysgolion meithrin, or Welsh language kind of play schools for 2, 3, 4-year-olds. So that's where it starts. Then it continues then in primary schools and secondary schools. You have to study Welsh as part of your GCSEs. So you have to study that for a good 13, 14 years. And then afterwards, what happens next? Well, if you want to go to university, but you can't follow a course in the language of your education, in your previous education, then there's something wrong there. There has to be a continuation. And of course, when universities teach through Welsh, whatever subject it might be, it also gives status, an educational status of the language as well, which is needed. Once a language has status, especially in higher and further education, it strengthens the core nature of that language, you know. So I think the demand would be